director at this point. Mr. Odom?
Well, first off, I certainly want to applaud and thank Judge Sachs for the effort he's put into this. He has really, he has certainly been to school on this issue and studied well, and I think that the board should have great confidence that he is an exceptional liaison between the Fort Monroe Authority staff and the governor's office as we deal with this, and I would hold him up also as someone who we could continue to work with very closely on this. What I heard in your comments, Mr. Chairman, were concerned not that the Fort Monroe Authority staff wasn't capable of it, but that this was a big lift and to write and interpret language for this. And what I would say is, it is a big lift, but so is also talking about Angela and Isabella, talking about who the enslaved people were, who we've learned actually built the fortress, and seeing their names and seeing where some of them even died in construction accidents, and researching that and finding ways to tell the public, how that occurred. I think Carrie has taken Fort Monroe to a new level where we're intentional now about these stories. So I see a great process that the staff has followed, and the staff process included reaching into our scholars here on the Board of Trustees. So what I would say to you is that I don't know that we can get the signs up in 60 days, but I do believe that we can come pretty close between now and our next board meeting. They certainly should be in fabrication and in construction, at least by then. But we can use the same process that we've used on some very difficult discussions at the Visitor Center to incorporate our trustees in the discussions. And if at any time they're uncomfortable, then we can certainly put the brakes on it and postpone it, have a further board discussion on this. But we have started the process. Superintendent Brown and I got together a couple months ago, and I think the word that Terry either emailed me or said in the conversation was, we need to expeditiously start the process. We dove into our finances and actually found $53,000 left over in the sign account. And so we are focused on the 2 interpretive signs here at the arch, one at the bottom and one at the top. We've already identified what those would be, and the Historic Preservation Department has actually started the archaeology. It's the first thing that has to be done is, once you know what signs you want to put there and you know where you want to put them, then you have to do the archaeology to make sure that you're not disturbing anything. And so they are working on that now. At the same time, the Casemate Museum is working on the language now that they know the shape of the signs, they know how many words, where they can put pictures on there or whatever they need to do. So they're working on that. They'll be coordinating that with the National Park Service. I think when they get comfortable with that, then at that point we will incorporate our scholars and experts here on from the trustees. I think that we can expeditiously move forward on these interpretive signs, and I do think that's at the very least, I think that's what we can do now. I think it is important to put this in context. The second thing is I think that of all the ideas that I've heard, is that the idea about how is the Jefferson Davis Memorial Park identified, how is it referenced, and so forth. Were there any legal agreements that were created when that was approved, or was that something just done by the Army? The Army did a lot of things at Fort Monroe that we're changing, and so is that something that we can change? And so I really see that as another intentional step forward. And then I think intentionally diving into the process of following up with the governor's letter and with the action of this board. So I see us moving forward on all 3 of those fronts.
So what I'm hearing from you, Mr. Oder, is that you want to take on the responsibility of the signage interpretation. I do think that this would have the interpretive language would have to be reviewed by the authority, which does give you a lot of time. We've got 1 meeting, so we would hope the language would have to be ready for our review in June. We'd want some sign off from the National Park Service as well in terms of the interpretation that's on that signage. I think you've heard the view of the board, which is wholly consistent with the governor's letter. And the governor's letter is pretty clear. So this signage is inconsistent with the way in which Fort Monroe is going to be portrayed and what it stands for, which will be shown to the world in August. It's where freedom lives, and everything should be consistent with that. This arch is not, the governor has instructed us to move forward, and we really serve the pleasure of the governor. He's instructed us to move forward with the process of removing the arch, as well as removing references to Jefferson Davis Memorial Park. He feels strongly that a memorial glorifying the President of the Confederacy has no place here, especially given our efforts this year to commemorate the 400th anniversary of enslaved Africans. So this is our instruction. The authority